Hi all, welcome to the Marquee Matchups for the 23rd of January. Plenty to cover as always. Remember that there is some games that I will talk about that don't feature due to just being featured, but also due to some games are in cups as well. So if you can smash likes, we awesome, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GSLegend. All the links are down below for posts on the channel and social media links as always. Apologies if my throat sounds really bad. Voice is starting to go, so not the best to have this week. But first route is in France with two games, mainly Marseille and Monaco, which I really quite fancy, both fighting for the top four and their Champions League places, and Guingamp versus Nantes is the other game of note. Sound shouts to go for, as long as you cover all four teams I would say you have a strong shout, and then it's just a case of somewhere around 77-78 rated squad, mix of nations, mix of rares, like Ben Arthur's a good cheap option, Casri, Marcelo, and just kind of work it from there. 3 or 4 rares should give you more than enough to work with. 7 out of 10 for Marseille, 6 out of 10 for Guingamp versus Nantes. That's the kind of way I'm looking about. 7 to 10k for cost, so wouldn't be too bad. I feel if you've got yourself well and truly covered for both of these particular routes. From there we go to Italy with only one standout option this week, which is Milan versus Lazio. I would say Kalinic, Bastos, Felipe Anderson, these kind of players, they're going to be sound common shouts, even like Zapata and Gomez. From there you just kind of want to cover a 78-79 rated squad and then just build a number of rares. We've got like Quagliera, we've got Niang, Yankto, Alan, Dalbert, Consigli, so we're well and truly covered. We can lower the rate quite a bit to still work with, and it works no problem. From there we go over to Spain. We have two options of Leganés versus Espanyol, which is the lesser Madrid Barcelona derby. It's a loose derby, it's not serious for what I've read about, but it's nothing too serious. But Valencia Real Madrid's the notable game, because obviously both teams are top 4 and Real Madrid's not in form. Valencia's pretty decent. For me, as long as you cover like Vallejo or Nacho Fernandez, and Valencia wise probably like Neto, your Neto and Jose Gaya are sound shouts. But from there, 7 out of 10, and as long as you've got a good few rares to work with, like Vidal as well from Barcelona and Sansone. Pro League has two notable options in Standard versus Anderlecht and Ghent versus Club Brugge. My recommendation: cover all 4 teams, because both games big games. And there is also, for what I've dug, I think there's another game in Belgium that could feature, so I would recommend, personal preference, at least 8 to 10 teams from the league, and I would say then you're well and truly covered. And cover a few rares, cover a few nationalities, cover the golds as well. I've made it minimum 70, but wouldn't be surprised if they were to go 72, 73, 74. Like Kubo, Refilov, Ochoa, Asari, Mboji, Teodorzik, Kani, Trebel, these kind of players. There's tons of golds, decent silvers to work with, and I've even been able to get away with throwing a bronze in. That just kind of shows you how impressive that is. SPFL has Celtic versus Hibernian, but also next Tuesday Partick versus Celtic play. I know I featured it last week. Good feature as a side option, but Hibs versus Celtic, I've gave it a 5 out of 10 because it's not guaranteed to happen, but obviously if the SPFL was to have the marquee match, the League SBC soon, then this would have to potentially feature. Obviously Griffiths, McGinn, McLaren, they're kind of sound shouts. Effie Ambrose, Rogic, Comper is another one. Dembele's not too bad. As long as you get say a 70 rated squad and just work from there, you're not going to find yourself short of options, and it's fairly cheap as well. Most of the silvers are fairly cheap just now, and same for the golds within the league. You can build a fairly straightforward 70 rated squad, and you probably get away with a few bronzes as well if you've got Griffiths, Dembele, etc. And then the last route of the week features the A-League. This is Melbourne Victory versus Sydney, and Sydney FC, not Western Sydney Wanderers. Fornaroli and Macaron are probably two sound shouts to kind of go for from a goals, even Cujo. But for me, as long as you've got the two teams covered, you're not going to find it too difficult to prepare for. I've gave it a 6, could sneak up to a 7. It's very difficult to kind of predict if it could feature, but of course time will tell. As long as you have a 70 rated squad, I would say you're not going to find yourself short of options whatsoever. But other games that haven't featured obviously Feyenoord and Fenerbahce, these games in their respective leagues are just in, so it's going to be a bit hard. There's cup games in the EFL, Portugal, France, to name just a few, so be aware of those leagues as well. I will leave them down in the description below. So hopefully you find this useful. As always, let me know in the comments down below what your 4 that you fancy. As I said, Standard versus Anderlecht, the Real Madrid game, the Monaco game, and then the Melbourne victory, Sydney. So take it easy all, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later.